Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's too high. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests, community partners, members of the network of community practitioner and NOCP friends, brothers and sisters in faith. Very good evening to all of you. It's an honor for me to be here to join to celebrate NOCP Anniversary and also together to commemorate the Singapore 60th, or SG60, Singapore 60th anniversary of independence. What a milestone it is. But before I start my formal presentation, I'd like to place on record Dr. Bibi Jan, Eunice, and Sharifah. Dr. Sharifah? She was here. Two of you missed the earlier dialogue just before the GOH came in. We had a very robust dialogue, or rather I myself and Faiz, I think should reflect during the break about the progress and the strategic direction of NOCP. And his presentation was spot on, and I think we should dedicate more time, and you can take it up later. But I would like to take this opportunity because I'm involved, Dr. Bibi Jan contacted me just about when NOCP was formed. So I'd like to take this opportunity actually to place on record and to acknowledge that you won't be here. You won't be here to celebrate this NOCP. NOCP won't exist without Dr. Bibi Jan outstanding involvement. And I want to say this, I know Bibi for both of us, Syed Malumata Sanara Utama, we go back very long time. Iwan Hussein, who's my mentor, who also knows Bibi. I think Iwan Hussein will be on the, will you be showing the video later? Yeah. Now, look, let me just say something about Dr. Bibi Jan. I think there's a problem within our community, and I've been involved in grassroots since 1980, actually 1976, a very young age. I made Allah Yarham Mansur Sukaimi. Many of you may not know who he is. You should go back and look at the 2% that influenced me. First was Mansur Allah Yarham Mansur Sukaimi, who was an MP for Kembangan in 1976, and was a very young age, who really impressed me about to serve in grassroots. And the other one is Tuan Haji Yaakob Muhammad, not Yaakob Ibrahim. This is Yaakob Muhammad, who was Minister of State Prime Minister's Office in '78. I met him for the first time, who became ambassador to Egypt. And my lifetime mentor, my beloved Tuan Haji Wan Hussein Haji Zohri, who has molded me, who has guided me for the last 30 years. What I want to say this is about Dr. Bibi Jan. I think today, Bibi probably have served nearly 45 years, 44 years, 6 months in the education service. There's no, and I say it on record, there's no other Malay Muslim, not even Halimah Yaakob. And I say it on record, there's no one else has served the way Dr. Bibi Jan has served. She has been involved, and one of the very few Malay Muslim, correct me if I'm wrong, probably the only Malay Muslim that has a BBML, Bintang Bhakti Masyarakat Lintang. And those of you who do not know what it is an honor. And having served in gospel for a long time, I don't even have a PBM, and that's another story. But Dr. Bibi Jan has a BBML because of her contribution to MSF foster care. No, I have to say this. Apart from that, Bibi, your work setting up Club Hill, your work with Jamia, your work with AMP on the board, phenomenal. And 2 weeks ago, when I was overseas, Bibi contacted me and I advised her it's time to take this opportunity, the 8th anniversary, the title SG60 moving to SG100. It's time for you to, it's a timely for you to take a break with your 6, is it now 6 or more than 6 grandchildren? 6? 6, yeah. So I told Bibi, I said, look, stop, you have done enough. No one I've known, and I correct me, so I stand corrected. No one I've known a female professional in Singapore, Malay Muslim. She's the president of Malay Teachers Union. And I can go on the accolade. And BB, thank you from bottom of my heart. On behalf of every NOCP member, also the community, thank you so much for your contribution to NOCP and to the Malay Muslim. Yeah? Okay, I don't like to sit on, but I'm a master facilitator, so I travel all over the world. I usually use a lapel mic, but I think it's small enough. You can hear me behind?
Yes.
Now I'm going to tell you a story. Every morning in Asia, a tiger wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the fastest deer. Every morning in Asia, a deer wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the fastest and the slowest tiger. It doesn't matter whether you're a tiger or deer, when the sun comes out, you better be running. Okay? Now, what does it mean for NOCP? In light of today, as my work over the last 20 years in the world of disruption, and I published books, my focus for the last 20 years is on technological disruption and how technology has disrupted business worldwide since the dot-com bust. Actually, it's more than 20 years. It's year 2000. I come from Silicon Valley, from Milpitas, California, when I was in the US, in the Bay Area, and I graduated from Golden Gate University. So when I was in Singapore, I went there, came back, and I seen Singapore transform. But there's one thing that I think, and I'll give you my views in a short while about the Malay Muslim I have published yet. So I'm going to ask you, I talk about tiger and deer. So if you look at that, NOCP, do you think NOCP currently is a tiger or a deer? Come on. Cognitive readiness thing. Is NOCP a tiger? Sharifah, where are you, Sharifah? Why is the chairman missing? No, where is she? I need to get a chairperson and answer this question. Is NOCP, I don't want BB, I don't want you to answer this. I want the rest. Hamida, you are the vice chairman. So tell me, is NOCP a tiger or a deer?
A deer.
Deer, why?
Small.
Small? Anyone? I deliver this in different contexts. When I go to China, there's only one answer. What do you think in China they will say? Tiger, But NOCP can be a deer. Why? In today's world of disruption, why a deer can be a reflection as a motto for NOCP as it progresses? What's so great about a deer? Anyone know? How fast do you think a deer can run? Anyone? No. Deer, have you seen a deer running? No. Google it on your video. You know that deer can run faster than a tiger, but not as fast as a cheetah. A deer can go up to 60 kilometers per hour. Now, when we talk about disruption, the title, we talk about the disruptive mindset. That's my title of the presentation. That we must behave and think like both a deer and a tiger. A tiger has agility, fast, but a deer can scan the environment, look for opportunity and the danger. So if today is, and I'm very delighted listening to Faiz. Where are you, Faiz? Faiz, you did a great job, and you're talking about the strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat. Have you, Faiz, have you shared your slide on the group chat? Should share and please take time, BB and Sharifah and the community to look and take time. I think you'll be, so you may find it useful to look at the style of Malay Muslim organization or as a whole, Singapore, and about NOCP, where we're going. And I think it's spot on. This is exactly what I advise BB, you and the community, when you first engaged me to give you advice about where NOCP should be going. I mentored 8 of you. I don't know what happened to the others. I can only see Sharifah and you, Hamida. The other 5, I don't know what happened. Are they here? Remember there were 8 of you, the NOCP young emerging leaders who I mentored. I can't remember, that was 8 years ago. And my advice is take some time to reflect on that. So let me now go in, I won't go into the depth because I've given you all the presentation material, my speech, the content, everything on. I just sent half an hour ago before I arrived from Malaysia, so I just sent everything on the group chat. even my speech, everything, the bicentennial paper I wrote in 2019 about the progress and challenge of the Malay Muslim community is published, and you can have a look. So I want to talk about a few points that I think is important and time for us to reflect. Where is the Farah? It's not moving. It's changed. Okay. So very quickly, I think I was asked to look at where can we go from SG60 to SG100. So I'm going to give you the broad direction, because my work is global. I'm an advisor to board companies worldwide, both in Europe, in US, in Asia, looking at transformation or disruption, and it's my work for the last 20 years. And I can tell you can apply a lot to NOCP. And because it's easier for NOCP to apply because you are young, you new, and a lot of things I will talk about is not rocket science, it's not, it's something, it's common sense. But the problem is common sense is not common practice. So it's time for you to reflect, NOCP committee and the members, about where we are going. And I would encourage you to look at this 34-page article that I published. I was invited to write. One who says Zori and Zainal Abidin, former minister, asked me to write an article based on my work in grassroots since 1980 about where do I see the progress, 40 years of progress of Malay Muslim. So, but the work is 200 years history, but it focuses on independence 1965. And I have references work in ANP, a lot of work. ANP has done a great job. And anyone from ANP here? Who is it? Mashallah. And then that goes to all of you, ANP. You have done a great job. And Alami was running it. And before that, it was a lot of challenges during Go Chokton era. I was privy to that. It's very difficult. But you have done a fantastic job. Continue doing a great job. And maybe I know you served on the board before. And I never had the privilege to be invited because I'm hardly around in Singapore. But AMP done a great job. Mendaki, with Abdullah Tarmuji, some of you may not know who he is. He was former, before Masagos was Yaqub, before Yaqub was Abdullah Tarmuji. I worked with Dolam, and when he invited me to talk to Mendaki, and Mendaki has done a great job. And of course, Masagos came out M3, and all of them have done a great job. I think this Far East presentation shows the evolution. It was very great to see the contribution. But NOCP can evolve, and this is timely for us to reflect. Number one, I think our challenge today is not about resources. You can find resources. And what Far East says just now, we can partner. And we are thankful to AMP for over the, I cannot attend many of the events where I was overseas. I'm based in US, I was in New York, I was based in California, in Milpitas, in San Jose. But I find it for me to travel back, and now I've relocated to Terengganu for a project with the university. I was a visiting professor at the University of Kelantan to help the Kelantan state government to restructure the education service. I can tell you something that we can learn a lot from work that's been done by other agencies and collaborate. We don't compete, collaborate, leverage on the strength of other, and what Faiz talked about earlier about partnership. So it's not about the resources. We have the resources, we partner, but it's about agility. Can we shift our mental model? Can we shift our mindset? We need what we call cognitive readiness. That is missing. We cannot depend on BB, and I advised BB. I told her 2 weeks ago, I said, you have to stop. Number one, self-funding NOCP. You have to stop spending it's time for you to spend time with your grandchildren. No, I'm serious, joke aside. She has done so much. And this is where the chairperson, Dr. Sharifah, and Hamida, and the rest of you in the leadership committee take up the baton. And I hope some of you here will join the leadership committee. She invited me to be an advisor. I said there are many other qualified people. I can be a beacon, I can provide insight, and I'll continue to do so if necessary. But I think the question is, how do we remain successful? And shaping the Malay Muslim community of tomorrow, I think a lot of our GOH, Mr. Zulkarnain speech earlier, we should reflect. I hope you can make it available, because a lot of things that you said earlier is really for us to ponder upon how do we can help to resolve about I think very important about the diversity, the intermarriage. This is a real issue. Divorce. First, we talk about the drug and all this history. Those things we know. And in my report, the Fish report in 2019, I published all that about Malay. And I challenged the SAF, I challenged PM Lee Hsien Loong. Those of you who knows me publicly about the hijab. I was a very strong since 1985 behind the scene in grassroots and openly. In the year just before 1 year, I think it was before the announcement. I have a robust with our beloved Munis, our Mufti, spending time with him and understand. And I very delighted a lot. And there's a lot, and you can find all those things in my report. But I think for us, as what Faiz mentioned, where do we want to focus? Where is our focus? So there are 4 pillars that I want to share. And the details you can find in a PDF. Number 1, I think this is something which I want to make it very clear, which I'm going to focus only while I'm invited of pillar 2. But Faiz, as you discuss with when you have the what you call offsite or you have the discussion, I think it's time to look at these 4 pillars as NOCP moving towards what we call the SG 100 to chart forward. So the first one, of course, is faith-driven, as our GOH mentioned about Iman, Ihsan, and what's the other? Ilmu, yeah. So this is quite, I do not know if your presentation is aligned to what you're talking about. Number 1 is about faith-driven, future focus. I think give us a moral compass. Faith, Iman, is very important. It's the anchor that keeps us steady to the world that sway, the disruption. So it's very important. We need to have that. And our faith must never be static. It must be able to propel us forward. And that's where our disruptive mindset about new ideas, new ways, and that reminds me of in the Quran, Surah Arad, chapter 13, verse 11, where indeed Allah will not change the condition of the people until they change what is in for themselves. So it's for us. If NOCP wants to move forward to SG 100, it's for us. And this is a great start to reflect and to leverage on faith, which without foresight make us very rigid. So faith is important. You must have the foresight. That leads us to the number 2, lifelong learning and quality reading. Again, Zul, your mention about ilmu. It's about how can we create, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says there in Hadith that seeking knowledge is a duty upon every Muslim, Sunan Ibn Majah. And that's our responsibility. We need to learn, and for NOCP, all of us should reflect and learn, unlearn, relearn. That's what we call the learning agility. How to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Because technology, AI, the Gen AI, you're going to see GAI. This is nothing you've seen yet. I've seen it in US. I work with the DoD, Department of Defense. I work with NASA in US. My company is US. It's a US-based company. For the last 10 years, we work with NASA, with DoD, where you see technology has been used for artificial intelligence is not new. It's been around for quite some time. But what the potential and scary when GAI, General Artificial Intelligence. How many of you have seen the James Bond latest movie? You know the latest, the Dead Reckoning. Watch that movie, because that is a snapshot similar to what technology, the evil of technology, he can take over the decision processes, making decisions. Now that's danger because when there's ethics issue involved, there's lack of compassion when machine take over. So I publish when I publish what we call on LinkedIn analysis of GAI based on the movie. Then the third one, which I will talk about, what we call the inclusive and collaborative leadership. This is I won't talk much. I think Fai's presentation was spot on. Talk about partnership with other agencies. And lastly, which NOCP has not been known, social innovation. And this is something which I think AMP must be credited. But not many, even Jamia and many other, even Entry, I don't see anything truly innovative coming up. AMP has done quite good work, and I think should continue. And the NOCP partnership with AMP through Dr. B.B. Chan, has common, has been blessed. Thank you, AMP, please, for making, giving us opportunity to use the premises to dialogue. And then last week I was not around. Dr. Vijay invited me, but I was not around to attend the session, but I think it was very well organized, was very, for what Dr. Vijay briefed me, I think this is, again, about social impact innovation, where we can make a difference. If we want to choose a partner, AMP would be one, and the others, depending on where the direction we are going. So this is the most important, second last slide. I'll talk about the disruptive mindset, the second pillar. Now, when we're talking about disruptive mindset, so worldwide, when I coach, I'm an executive coach, I'm a C-suite, coach board member and CEO and C-suite to allow them to be able to transform the organization. As many as 85% of companies, Fortune 500 companies, 85 to 90% today, except GE, very few companies since 1970 who are listed in the, in the, either in the FTSE 100 or in the, what do you call it, US, just slip my mind, list of listed companies in the 70s, 95% are no longer around. Now why? And I can tell you, we'll spend time talking about this, but one of the challenges is about the leaders and the team do not demonstrate cognitive readiness or the disruptive mindset. And this is how Singapore, and I comment and I wrote to PM Lawrence Wong when he was chosen amongst peer. And I think with the challenges, he's doing a great job. I mean, we are blessed, alhamdulillah, we are blessed because there were other two contenders, Chan Chun Sing and Ong Ye Kam, both of whom I do not know personally, but I've met. But I'm glad Lawrence is, I think for the challenges that we're facing with China and US, I think he's the right person leading us, alhamdulillah. And I think we need to support him, especially for the Malay Muslims. And PM, our senior minister, Lee Hsien Loong, who I worked with, Ko Chok Chong, our former emeritus, back in the 70s, sorry, in the 80s, 90s, I think they've done enough job. But today, the geopolitical challenges that we're facing and the what we call the new global order, with Trump, and I predicted Trump in my third book. I talk about Trump coming back, and I said he will come back because he will disrupt again, and true enough. I talk about the issue of disruptive time, negotiating the new balance in 2023. I say that Trump is going to come back, and this is the problem that the world is not ready. And that's another story. So what does it mean for us? Is to be able to break our assumption, the way we think, unlearn outdated habit, question the rule. We need to question, this is what happening right now in the world. We need to accept, and that's why PM Lawrence Wong is right. We have to embrace it, and we don't know how long you're going to, and I think you're going to be there, even if once you disrupt the global rule order, it's not easy in US. You think the character is going to change? No, you're going to remain for a very long time. And this is where the subsequent leaders, whoever in US, It's going to. This is something that we have to be prepared to accept. And we need to reimagine new possibilities. This is the disruptive. We need to look at, I think, what can we do? The presentation by Faiz earlier about where do we want to move forward, what are the various areas that we want to focus on, NOCP, that merits a discussion by itself. So this is where I think we need to build on the possibility. And lastly, we need to boldly transform with cognitive readiness. So what is cognitive readiness? And I coined it when I worked with DoD and NASA. Cognitive readiness is the ability to develop and leverage on your emotional social intelligence, your critical thinking, strategic thinking, analytical thinking, together to be able to move the organization to the next level. So it's a combination of quite a lot of competency. And what we call in the DoD, we call it Paragon 7. Paragon 7, and when I pushed the DoD, Department of Defense in US and NASA, we call it Paragon 7. Basically, you can find it, it's all on my website. You can get all the information that I talk about. You can get, and I decided to give away a lot of things free because it's part of knowledge. You can go to my website, you can go and download and read under tools and resources. Yeah. Okay, so she just pointed out to me time's up. So because okay, so just a road ahead. So I think by 2065, I think what we wanted to do today is 2025, 40 years down the road. There's a lot of things we can plan today. We should take stock every 10 years. Every 5 years is to reflect where we are going. So the three questions, Faiz, your presentation, I think three questions, Bibi, Sharifah, Hamida, all of you in the leadership team. Where are we today? Today we have listened. I think Jiho has given a very good presentation. Faiz, they've done a great job. Where do you want to go? And I've given you the broad stroke, where we are going, where do you want to go, and how do we get there? How do we get there is a journey. And this is where we still have not yet defined, based on the presentation by Faiz earlier about strategic direction of NOCP. There's a lot of options. Okay, and lastly, you know, the road here is not going to be easy. It's not going to be smooth. NOCP, I still believe you need to be registered, Dr. Vivijan. I think you need to register it in whatever form, whether with ROS, whether as a company limited by guarantee, whatever structure the committee can decide. But we need to, I find it difficult, and I was questioned by my board when I asked to write this, and they did one of my board member asked me, what is NOCP? I cannot find even a website. I cannot find, and you are blending your name, and and I told BP, I think for many years, it's time to really formalize it. You cannot run as it is. It is my belief that learn from AMP, learn from Club Hill. You've done a great job with Club Hill and others. So with that note, let me just end with a dua. Okay, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah wa assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So before I end, let me join me with a short dua. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya Allah, grant us the wisdom to lead with foresight, the strength to serve with sincerity, and the unity to uplift one another with compassion. Bless our nation Singapore with continued peace, prosperity and harmony. Guide our Malay Muslim community and our leaders to remain steadfast in faith, resilient in adversity, and relevant in the world of tomorrow. Amin. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm not as tall as Prof. Okay, thank you, Prof. Santa, for your inspiring insights on what it means to lead through change while staying grounded in values. Next, we welcome Associate Professor Khairuddin Al-Junaid, Professor of Islam in Southeast Asia at the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, and a leading scholar recognized amongst the 500 most influential Muslims in the world both in 2024 and 2025. Prof. Khairuddin, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We have heard a lot this morning, and we began actually with the what is it called? Genetic profiling. I'm O plus. My blood is O plus, and I'm feeling and sensing. Feeling introvert. So O plus people are supposed to be emotional, and because I'm sensing and feeling and introvert, that means I'm supposed to be disruptive. And I think a lot of people here know that I've been so disruptive that I've gotten the liberty of being suspended from work, being mentioned in the parliament, and still haven't joined the parliament yet. Now, what I want to do today is not talk about being disruptive, but about how we can do something in NOCP and as a community as a whole that will not first, as MP Zul, who was my batch actually in NUS, has said just now, that would kind of replicate what has been done. And I think there is a problem in our Muslim community in Singapore. I call it a kind of like the tortoise complex, where we want to solve issues, but at the same time, we always look within our shells rather than outside. And precisely because of that, we tend to do the same thing that other people have done. I was in the board before in Perdaus, in Jamia, in AMP, in a few organizations. And I realized that all organizations end up doing the same thing. And the reason why we are doing the same thing is because all of us do not see ourselves as the people who can actually shape this country, even though we are a minority community. I do not want to get into why we are not thinking in that manner. Zohran Mahmudani, the famous author actually, Mahmud Mahmudani, said it very profoundly. He won the elections despite his party not supporting him. That what we need right now is actually, and what the youth need right now, are actually thought leaders. Something that ANP has spoken about 20 years ago, in fact 30 years ago, but it is something that has not been realized for many reasons, which I cannot talk about today because I will not be invited again in the next NOCP session. But I want to begin first by orienting all of us to look beyond Singapore. And first, I want to begin with some global key trends. I will not show the slides, I think it's better for me to speak off the cuff. And then I'm going to talk about the importance of thought leadership and why NOCP should not be doing anything else. You should not be doing health, you should not be doing education, you should just focus on being thought leaders, right? So let's begin first with understanding the global trends right now. And I'm not going to bring in statistics because it's going to be very boring. But I'm going to paint a very broad brush for us to understand. I'm speaking really not as an academic in NUS, nor as a community, someone from the community, but really as a father of 6 children from the age of 25 to 11 years old. Anybody here has 6 children in this room? Okay, only Bibi Jan and another person. We are top scorers. Now, what's happening right now in the world today, if you have traveled enough, especially to the West and to many Muslim countries, is that we see amongst the young the rise of what we can call as a climate of impatience. The young are getting more and more frustrated with the lack of jobs. Even in Singapore, and I see it in my own children and the children of my brothers and sisters and friends, they are not only unemployed, they are underemployed. And this has caused a lot of frustrations where the young feel very disenfranchised and very disillusioned with systems and structures, and most importantly, with politicians. I'm sorry to say this, Mr. Zul, but this is the reality. And Zohran is not only a symptom, but an indication of the frustration of the youth. The reason why he could win, despite his party not supporting him, is because he represents the very frustration of the young that you see not only in New York but the whole of America and the whole of the world. We are living in an age where the young are no longer patient with listening to anyone, including me as a father in the family, when we do not give proper solutions to the very problems that they face. And the problems that they face go to the level of the fact that they cannot pay attention like we used to before. They're always looking at their phones. That's the first problem, the lack of attention span. The second is the existential problem, where they cannot get proper jobs. And the third, the problem that they face right now is that we are not talking their language anymore. We talk down at them rather than talking with them. And this is the first issue that I want to bring your attention to. Now the second issue, and I think Professor Sattar mentioned it just now, is what we call as the paradoxes of connectedness. The more we are connected, the more we see the explosion of knowledge of all kinds. You don't need a teacher anymore. As I said 2 days ago in Kuala Lumpur, now everybody rely on Professor ChatGPT and Sheikh Google, right? And these two things can answer everything, including religious questions, any ideas that you need to produce, you can just key it into ChatGPT and prompt it, and you get all of the solutions that you want. I just came back just a month ago from the UK and spoke to a good Turkish friend of mine who's a professor at the University College London, and he's a chemical engineer. His student from Indonesia gave him some formulas, some sophisticated formulas, and he asked the student, how did you come up with all of these formulas? She said that she got it from ChatGPT. And he told her, get out of the room, right? So this is the second thing. You have an explosion of knowledge, not a knowledge explosion, but we have now wisdom implosion. People are knowing more and more, but they're getting less and less wise. And that's why politicians say stupid things. Trump, right? And that's why leaders are churning out programs that don't really speak to the people on the ground, because they know a lot, but they don't know how to implement it in such a manner that the young gets what they want. So that's the second thing. Now the third thing, as mentioned just now as well by MP Zul, is the growth of dehumanization. And there's so many works now about this. One book that I would recommend all of you to read is, the title is Making Monsters, the Uncanny Power of Dehumanization by David Livingstone Smith. And all of these books argue that we are becoming less and less human. And precisely because of that, and precisely because states have become so less and less human, that we are now reduced to digits. Think about the jobs that you are in. I've been in NUS for the last 21 years, right? Do you actually matter in the current job that you are in? The simple answer is actually no. Gone are the days where my father would stay in a company that doesn't exist anymore, Rediffusion, for 37 years. He lived, he breathed, and he totally would die for the company. But the young people now would leave any single organization within a span of 3 years, because they know that organization do not value them. So this dehumanization not only exists in jobs, it is what we see right now in Gaza, in Sudan, in many countries all over the world. We don't no longer care for the people around us. So even if we have 10 more Mendaki and AMP and Jamia, it will not solve the problem on the ground, because people have become dehumanized. They are doing it just because they have to do it. They don't do it because they really feel for the people around them. And that is why in societies where there are no organizations like AMP and so forth, in the far edges of Indonesia, in the southern end of south of Thailand, and in the deep villages of Malaysia and Cambodia, you see people with big hearts helping the community and really making change. The reason why the statistics tell us that Singapore has the highest suicide rate, one of which is my own friend of more than 30 years who jumped down from a flat just because he was stressed as a teacher in a secondary school. And that here in Singapore, if you know the statistics, every day you would have one person killing him or herself and another contemplating to do so. Either at the end of this day or tomorrow, it's 400 plus. And these are statistics telling us that we have dehumanized ourselves and our society. So all of these are floating around. And all of these are issues that the news don't tell you. That the statistics doesn't seem to imply that they are important. But I'm trying to make the point here today that NOCP must be aware of this, and that we must be aware that the divides between the rich and the poor, the young and the old, the haves and the have-nots are getting wider and wider than ever before. Now all has been said, right? There seems to be so many problems for us to solve. What do? Do we then do everything to solve all of society's problems? We would be kidding ourselves. The community with the least resources cannot be helping all of the people with the least resources that it has. But the community with least resources, as MP Zulkarnain said it very well, but with a deep conscience for society, can help to become the moral compass of society. So if you ask me, and wherever I travel all over the world, because whenever I go to Malaysia, the first question that a Malaysian would ask me is, are you discriminated? That's always the first question that they ask me. And I always tell them, I am very discriminated. But I'm here in Malaysia, standing here as a professor from the University of Singapore, which they want to be. Funny, Malaysians always want to have their universities to be like the national universities, the University of Singapore, but they are telling me I am discriminated here. So the irony of it all, right? But I am telling them, and they know it too, that if there is something that the Muslims in Singapore can provide to Singapore, to the region, to the world, it is ideas that matter. And this is why, for me, NOCP do not have to waste its time, its resources, its energies, and anything else than to just come up with good ideas that can help you to serve as thought leaders in the Singaporean society. If we can do that, if we can help society, the young, the government, and give them good ideas that they can implement, we have done our jobs. And we do not need to worry that we cannot give food to a poor family somewhere out there. The government will help us to do it. They have enough resources to do it. What the government needs now, what the society needs now, are people who can think. And it's sad that every time when we have a convention, somebody else is thinking for us, or at least tell us how to think. We are lucky, at least in Singapore, that we are allowed within boundaries and limits to think of new ideas. And I am confident from my own experience of being suspended, of being questioned, that in as much as this country may have boundaries to how far we Muslims can think as thought leaders, there is, at least for now, change that is happening because the world is changing. So let us seize the moment as NOCP. Let us become thought leaders for the Muslim community, for the country, for the society, and let us then focus all our resources to come together to bring out good blueprints, good ideas, and good solutions that can help everyone in this country. I just want to end here by thanking NOCP. If anything that I've said today may seem to be, as we say in Malay, menggariskan, mengguriskan, dan menggiriskan hati, I truly apologize, but we have a lot of work in front of us. Let's do it together, and let's do it hand in hand with all the stakeholders out there. Aqulu qawli hadha, wa astaghfirullahal azim li wa lakum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I've not worked with your friends. I am Raihan. I actually am totally foreign to almost everybody. I think the only person that I've worked with so far is Dr. Bibi and Faiz, right? So maybe it's only apt that I introduce myself before I actually engage the giants seated with me. So I just recently retired from the military after 25 years. When Dr. Bibi Jan invited me over to help moderate, actually I was confused because I thought I was a misfit. I've never met this community and I've never had opportunities to engage, and probably I would be at a disconnect. But today I realized that I am where I'm supposed to be, because actually I'm also the guy who sits at the corner of the classroom. Right? So 25 years in the military, but I'm not a model military officer because I'm not a conformist. Right? By sheer fact, because I'm not a conformist. I entered the military as a diploma holder, so my career endpoint or estimated potential is of a diploma holder. But after 25 years, I had developed the Army's safety master plan. I was given a letter of commendation by the Royal Brunei Armed Forces Chief of Defence. I was a distinguished graduate from the GKSE Command and Staff College. And you know the Amokui development, Amokui camp, where they basically tore it down and redeveloping it. So that is a $1 billion project, and that was delivered by me in the ministry on the first sitting. So historically, there has never been a project that has been approved by minister on the first sitting, and I was able to do that. But despite that, so again, back to diploma holder, right? So despite that, the promise of promotion never came because they say, wait for your time and space. So I said I didn't want to wait for time and space because I've proven beyond what you think my value is. And if you don't want to reward me, then I think there is somebody else out there who would give me that proper value. So I decided to leave. So that's why you will probably never hear of me, but you probably may see me in the newspaper a few years ago when I was a distinguished graduate. So yes, I'm disruptive because I challenge all my bosses. I am a critical thinker. I'm a sense maker. I'm also a strategist. So I always break people's plans down, and then they get very pissed off because I just shown them that their ideas don't work. Okay, so it comes to where I am now. I'm currently still finding my way, but I also do strategic planning as a consultant. So as a consultant, that's where when Dr. Bibi gave me this topic, future ready, my first question to her is, so how do you define future? What is the future that we need to be ready for? And that is a clarity that most of us do not even bother to sit down and think. So if you want me to be future ready, you must tell me what is the future, so that I can understand and I can sense what success would mean when you are there, right? So what is a successful person in the future? If we don't define the competencies, then we will never be able to come up with a proper plan to enable our people. So understanding the future is very important. Understanding what success looks like in the future, that's the next key point. Next is we need to look at where are we right now, right? What's our current state? Do we do that baseline assessment? Only when we know that, then we can define the creative gap. And when we are very clear about the creative gap, we can then devise the strategies and the plan to get us from A all the way to B. And then that plan will come with several pillars, which is about mindset, which is about the critical core skills that you may need to have, which are also the technical competencies that we need to build in our individuals so that we can be successful in the future that we have defined for ourselves. So with this panel, it is very apt because we have spoken about future challenges. We have also spoken about the key competencies, the mindsets that we need. And then we also have spoken about how we as NOCP can become the thought leaders in order to break free certain barriers, certain mindsets and mental models. So I think my purpose here is really to bring clarity. And once we have clarity, then we know what is the purpose of NOCP. So when I was working with Faiz, I told him we need to be very clear of what are the end goals, where we need to play and how we will win, right? So if we don't define that, then we are lost. So what is our business model canvas that we want to create? So I'm going to pick the brains. First is, I think it's very important when we look at what I just said, to understand the future. So could I invite Mr. Zoom probably to give us a sense of what is that 10 to 15-year future that we are talking about? What are the challenges and what are the demands for that, so that we can work towards it?
Thank you so much, Raihan. Thank you for sharing. I want to say a big thank you to both professors. Really, I'm the least qualified here, just by virtue of being in the right place. But it's really, but I've been very one thing that I've learned is actually to listen a lot, and actually listening to basically data, listening to research around, and the trends that are coming up. Global trends, I think we've heard about it. 10, 15 years time, there's a few things maybe if I can just offer some of my own thoughts. Actually, the shape of the Malay-Muslim community in Singapore in 15 years time may be drastically different from what it is today. And I think if we don't look at this very carefully, it is exactly, it's not just about what future that we are looking at, but what is the future us that we are looking at in the mirror. Like I said, trends in demographic will change. There will be a lot more inter-ethnicity, inter-ethnic marriages. There will be a lot more Malay Muslims who are posted overseas, who we can tap on from their direct exposure to other jurisdictions and other practices. But there's also that challenge that that every community is facing, which is that intersection between what some folks may call progress and what we feel to be a fight to maintain our values. And I think Mufti Office is quite clearly being faced with some of these new challenges, like how do we handle new pedagogy in schools. So first and foremost, we need to see what is going to be our own community, how it would look like, how it will be comprising of in the next 10 to 15 years. To give you an example, what's our TFR? 0.97, I think, 0.97, and it's quite low. And then people are talking about this TFR as if it's a magic number. But if you look at the age-specific fertility rate for our men and women across Singapore, you look at 16 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 35, 30 to 35, 35, 40, 40 and above. And then you compare 1980 to today, actually, our maybe teenage pregnancies have gone down, of course. So we have lesser of it. And then 20 to 85, also less, because the median age of getting married is about 29.5. Then having kids is about 2 years thereafter, 31. And if comparing 80 to now, all those age brackets, we are getting lower. But between 35 to 40 and 40 above, it's about comparable. 80s to Singapore. And if you look at the Malay fertility rate, actually higher because you get married earlier. And Prof has 6 children, I have 4, 17, 14, 12 and 3. So people say we have been productive and reproductive. So actually it's an amanah for us. It's a different mindset. It's a barakah for us. So you can see that how can we then make sure that strength in numbers, and our number is a bit higher than the other community, but we want to have quality, right? So we have to shape up how our men and women can get married, can actually have that. So one thing I focus on is how do I want my community to look like in the future. And the rest of the other thing is the achievement, education, healthcare. I leave to the professionals to think about. I just want to take care of my family and welfare.
Maybe now that we understand the demographics, right, and how big our families are going to be, I probably it's if I look at it on a different lens, it could probably pose a larger challenge to us if we continue having a large family. Why I say this? Because if you look at the trends and patterns, currently graduates from universities, only 40% are able to get full-time employment. The rest are now working gigs. Right? So who are these people? These are our children, or our children that's gonna be growing up. And then we have us. So for me, as a 45-year-old, if this is the retrenchment age, 45 to 60 are the people which are becoming redundant in the workforce. And if you don't have that value, there's a high chance that you're gonna be first out the door, right? So that will become a problem in the future, because as the demands and the cost of living increases over the years, I would probably say, how is my kid gonna get a proper job to sustain and plan for a family? Because if he cannot even sustain himself, how does he then grow a family, number one? Second, if he doesn't get a job, his daddy is gonna be 60 to 70 years old, and then my health issues will become his problem if I don't create a solution myself now. And at the same time, for me, right now I am taking care of 3 kids, and probably I have to work until 68, until my youngest turns 20. If I lose a job now, how am I gonna raise my kids? And then in future, if I'm struggling, how do I have enough to make sure that I can pay for my own medical bills, so that my son doesn't become responsible for it? So again, if we don't develop or create that ability for us to strive and be successful, then we will become a problem, we become a burden. Our kids also find that it's going to be a problem, because they cannot live the values of a Malay Muslim kid. Because the values that he has is, I have to take care of myself, I have to take care of my wife, I have to take care of my wife's family, I have to take care of my parents. And if values is something that is deeply intrinsic, then we are it's a burden across the ecosystem. So how do we then develop sufficient capabilities and competencies in order to succeed? It is no longer about about surviving. I would probably say it's about not being stable, but how to excel. And then that will lead me to the next, right? What probably are the skill sets and the competencies that we need in order to succeed? So we spoke about thought leadership earlier. Actually, I would say, if I do a scan of this room, what's the difference between us and the people that we're helping? We all grew up from a fetus, right? So we all start with a zero state. But what makes the difference? What differentiates us that we are now trying to help the people which are also part of our community? And I realize one thing, as I speak to everybody here, I realize the difference lies with the beliefs that we have, the identity, story, and narratives that we tell ourselves, the conversations that we have in our head. These are the things that differentiate us from the people that we are trying to help, because we don't conform. People say that we are a rock. We say, no, I'm not a rock, I'm a diamond. But how did we come to that? How did we challenge? And as a thought leader, I think it's rightfully said, as a thought leader, how do we break that cycle? How do we tell our people that actually intrinsically in the DNA, it's there? But how do we then polish? Can we be the one that help to break that initial outer layer and then help them to polish? And then NOCP will come in to polish them in terms of the skill set, capabilities, and all our partners. How can they play a part? Right? So if I could probably maybe Professor Kai, how do we engage the youth and our partners when we do our engagement? How do we break that belief that we have? How do we change that belief? How do we change the identity that has been forced on us, so that they become the same group of people that will sit in this room in future, and then they say, I want to help the future generation?
Yeah. Well, I think to change their belief and identity requires us first to understand the trends within the community itself. Okay, so just now I didn't have time to say this, and I want to look at it from the perspective of the youth, because they are, to me, my concern right now. Right? First, the young people are rootless now. There are no roots anymore. Gone are the days where somebody will say, I was born in Sigalap and my family is from there. I was born in Jalan Yunus, and we always go back to get back our memory lanes. Right? These things don't exist anymore. An ordinary Singaporean right now would have shifted homes 3 times. Right? and then live in a condo, and then that's it. It's no longer a home, right? It's like a gated community, and you don't have memories from condos. You have memories from the heartlands. Sad to say, right? Now, this is the first thing. They are rootless, which means that they don't have memories that are impactful, such that they can say that they belong to a given place and community. That's number one. Number two, what you see now amongst the young is that they are only hopeful of Singapore when it comes to the fact that it is efficient. Everything is done efficiently, but they're not hopeful when it comes to providing them what they need in terms of what they have achieved educationally, or even starting a family. So if you speak to my students, come to NUS, you can come to my class and ask and do a survey in my class, how many of you going to get married? I'm telling you, half of them will say they're not going to get married. The other half who says that they're going to get married, they will say they will not have children. And the ones that will say that they will have children will say one and we give up. When I say I have 6, they say you must be crazy, right? Because the house is like a zoo to them. Okay, so that's the second one, right? The whole idea of a family, the idea of a family is gone in their minds. Okay? Then the third thing I think we need to totally register is that they don't trust structures anymore. Right? Of course, people in the government circles don't talk about this. But I can talk about it as an academic. They don't trust structures. They are very, very skeptical of systems right now. How do we win them over? Well, I think the first, every change, the way I see it, begins with the family. And I'm a strong advocate of that. And that's why for my own children, I always tell them that all change in society must begin with you getting married. This may sound very controversial, right? And nowadays, it's so ironic that these messages are not accepted in Singapore, but in the West, if you go to Nordic countries, they are talking about this now. They are actually encouraging people to get married and to get a lot of kids now. In many of these Nordic countries right now, the trend has shifted. So it starts with the family. But more importantly, I think the problem doesn't start downstream, it starts upstream, right? And again, we're not blaming the state for everything, but I think the government has to think again about the national value system that they want to put out there. What is Singapore? Is this just a materialist-driven, financially, directed country, or are we going to be a country with values, right? And which is concerned about family life. That's the first thing. But my last point, to go back to what MP Zul, not Mr. yet, because he hasn't gone to office yet, MP Zul was saying just now, there is another trend that is happening, which is the trend of what we call as the religious marketplace. If you talk to people in Darul Arkam, and if you look at the national statistics, more than 900, perhaps even 1,000 Chinese are entering into Islam right now, right? And the stats are staggering. If you actually do research, most of them actually get married, convert partly because of marriage, but many because they are rootless. So they have been traveling all over the world, watching the news, and now they say they want to become Muslims. So Chinese are becoming Muslims, and a lot of other people in the others categories are becoming Muslims. But if you look at the Malay statistics, more than 500 Malays every year are becoming any other religions, and most of them are becoming atheists. So you have a lot of movement in between religions. Now, what is the implication of this? The implication of this is that you will see not only blended families where someone who is married before now getting married again, but you're going to see a lot of inter-religious marriages in the community. And this is something that we need to be attentive about, especially for the MMOs and especially for NOCP. How then do we lead a community where it's already happening in Indonesia, where Hindus marry Muslims, Muslims marry Christians, but they are able to still coexist in a cosmopolitan way? Are we still going to be a society where when these things are happening, we become very uptight and not provide leadership such that we can solve it in a proper way? and such that these people then decide they're not going to stay in Singapore because since they cannot get married here, they're going to leave? Or do we want to have people who can put up ideas such that these people can be inducted back into the mainstream society? So these are the things that I think we need to think about. But in the gist, young people don't buy our old grandmother and grandfather stories anymore, right? Until you walk the talk. You want me to have babies? You go and get babies first. You want me to get married? You go and get married first. You want me to accept any other job, right? Do Grab or do anything? You go and do it first. Show it to me, and then we'll follow you in what you say.
Thank you, Professor Guy. I think so it's very apt because we are talking about capabilities and you prove that you can do it, right? So I think the one way that we can prove that we are actually capable of being in positions of leadership or to lead the next generation forward is really to prove that we can do it. If not, it's just all talk but no action, no credentials, no proof. Again, there's also number one, capabilities, but there's also this thing called opportunity. You can be capable, but if nobody gives you opportunity, then we are in trouble, right? Because we will never be able to succeed if nobody gives us the opportunity. Brings me to the next point. In some of my work that I do, actually most of my clients that I can convert are not Singaporeans. They are not Singaporeans. They are actually from Shanghai, from Dubai, from Abu Dhabi, from everywhere except Singapore. And then when I looked at Professor Sata's article, we looked at the presidential candidate of the Chinese community. Only 59% think that a Malay can be a president. Right? But for us, let's say the Malay community, we're looking at giving everybody equal opportunities at the high 70s, high 80s, and high 90s. Every race can be a president within the Malay community. That's what we think. But in the Chinese community, the Chinese president support very high. Indian also slightly higher, but Malays are only at 59%. So that's why, to me, again, when I pitch for jobs, to most of our clients who are Chinese, I will never get a job. Another Chinese guy will get it, or an Angmo fellow will get it, or any other fellow except a Malay. Because there's always this mental model that Malays cannot make it, or Malays will not be able to deliver, or Malays are not as good as me. Why am I engaging them? So that's why I end up, most of my clients are overseas, because they don't judge me by a Malay, but they judge me because of the capabilities. So now we have Professor Sata, who is traveling everywhere, and he's engaged by every other agency except Singapore.
No, I'm a consultant in Ministry of Health.
Yeah. So you see, but our people, in order to be successful somewhere, we probably may not need to start thinking that my future may not be here, right? And again, it could be a problem, but also an opportunity, right? Because we are nimble enough to move to different places in order to find success. So could we pick on the mind of Professor Sata, and then maybe share what it takes for our people to become that explorer, to search for success everywhere else across the world?
You know, I received a few messages about there's no opportunity to have a dialogue or in terms of Q&A. So I will answer that, but to give the opportunity, four or five of you send me a private message, say, look, we want to know more. So let's have the opportunity. I know we have limited time, so maybe one question from the audience, then I will respond to the moderator, which is a very important question, by the way. Anyone?
Not personal one? Not a personal one?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Concert is not personal one?
First of all, I would like to explain a little bit. I was with Dr. Bibijan when Professor, you communicate with him in Terengganu. So I want to repeat what he said. Please register NOCP. Am I right?
Yes.
I spoke to you just now. Alright. The next thing is this. Your words of saying, don't duplicate. There are so many organizations in Singapore, and I think the success of not a Malay Muslim because of they like to duplicate. So both of you
I thank you very much, because let the people here know why the Malay are backwards.
Diego, what the question? You have a question?
No. The challenges now. Maybe in few years time, we can have a Malay deputy prime minister, because Malay are not stupid. Okay, Malays are not stupid. All right. They are already Indian. Our percentage is more. Malay is more. But why don't we have a Malay deputy prime minister?
What's the
Okay,
question?
I don't want to question. I just want to say something.
Before I respond,
Anybody else?
no question. No, about what I presented, because
Make it short and sweet
yeah,
because we are running out of time.
yeah.
Okay, actually, my question is to ask for your views. I have two proposals and one opinion. The first proposal is this is a digital world, right? Okay, my first proposal is about NOCP platform. 40 years ago, I worked for the Institute of Marine Engineers, and I saw that they have technical talks every month. So I would like to propose if we can have a social technical talk every month, because all of us are professionals. Our strength is our intellectuality, our experience, and our heart, our big heart. So if anyone would like to share through the NOCP platform, it will be great. And then from there, we can identify our needs, our community needs. And my second proposal is that there is a hadith, if I'm, inshallah, if I'm right, there is a hadith that says that in the future, Rasulullah said, in the future, there will be a time when the youth or the adolescents are way advanced from the senior citizen. Our strength is our experience, right? Many years of experience. But now we see the youth are well advanced. So my proposal is to use the digital platform, outreach to them, and they become our influencer of the things that we want to convey the message. Okay, that is my proposal. Okay, the opinion is, I'm not sure about others, but I have been working for social services many years. The reason why I find that the NOCP platform is wonderful because I have the freedom to share my thoughts. I'm not limited by any legislation, but we do have unseen ethics, unseen boundaries, and we are also flexible in our boundaries. So that is my thought. Okay, thank you very much.
Let me respond to, sorry, I would have expected question, but not commentary and all that. So I apologize to BBJ and I apologize to the moderator. So I got a few people asking me, do you want to have a chat with me? So I thought this is a platform where everybody can learn. But never mind, let me respond to your question. I think one of the most important competency of future, in the 17th century, there's a very profound German philosopher called Arthur Schopenhauer. And he says this, he says that the challenge we face in the 17th century, that we in the world, when you look at the world, we all see the same thing. What's happening, like what happened today, look at the disruption in the world of geopolitical, global new order, the disruption by technology. Zul talk about the generational gap. You talk about also generational gap. Talk about the society. All these are what we call mega disruptors. You can find it all in my website. My books are all, the abstracts all free. But the challenge is, you say, what makes us different if we want to be successful? And I look at all the leaders that I coach, and right now, just to answer your question, I am a consultant to the government, appointed by when Yikam was the minister. He's still Minister of Health, but he was Kan Kim Yong when he was the Minister of Health. I think it was him. At that time, Prof. Tan Cho Chuan, who is the former NUS president, met me and wanted me to help how to transform the mindset of the restructured hospital. So I advise them, they are coaching right now, MOH, all this restructured hospital, SingHealth, NSG, NUHS. One of the things that I told them, all the CEOs and the CMB, Chairman of Medical Board, I said, look, what is wrong in Singapore. And this is something even a political office holder. And it's very, very controversial because some of them don't like what I say. I say right straight, and I send my books to Lee Shen Lung and Lawrence. I say that one of the things is called cognitive readiness. I mentioned just now. What is cognitive readiness? What Arthur Schopenhauer said. We all see the same problem. But how do we disrupt our level of thinking? As Einstein said, we cannot solve the problem with the same level of thinking that's created them. So we need to have cognitive readiness. So what is cognitive readiness? Cognitive readiness, I say, how do you adopt critical thinking, not strategic thinking? It's not important. Strategic thinking, analytical thinking, critical thinking, they are not the same. Innovative thinking are not the same. Critical thinking is the higher level of thinking where all of us need to be able to master. We need to see things, we need to disrupt our mental model. We need to have what we call disruptive mental agility, see things that everybody is seeing, but questioning things that others are not questioning. So how do you do that? That's how we need to, in my slides, you can get a copy in the group chat. We need to let go. We need to remove our cognitive bias, number one. Number two, we need to embrace, and Rasulullah SAW, in the hadith that I mentioned in Ibn Majah, we need to learn, unlearn, relearn, learning agility. Every day I learn. I learn from my grandnephew today, my grandnephew who is Sec 2, who came to me and tell me about what he designed a robot. So I said, what? He designed a robot in Sec 2 to compete in the next robot. And I said, look, tell me, what is it? I learned, I listened.